And I don't think a lot of people really understand that liability. And make no mistake about it, I don't make a habit out of reading insurance waivers and all these different general rules, tariffs that the carriers come out with or come forth with. And most customers run into this the hard way. What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions you have seen in your time with regard to that liability?
Yeah, there's a lot of it. That liability and limited liability is rarely enough.
Yep.
And the limited or liability coverage that is offered is, or tends to be, um, the only thing that's available is as default in the
Mm-hmm.
carrier's agreement, and that's really not sufficient to protect the goods in transits for a number of reasons. There's coverage limitations, such as the basis of how the limitations and the coverage is provided, the
Mm-hmm.
tariff that sits behind it, on a per pound or per kilo rate rather than the actual value of the goods. There's a huge number of exclusions that aren't necessarily understood. For example, the carrier may not be liable for damage caused by act of God, such as a natural disaster. If the ultimate cause of loss was
Yeah. Black ice, truck rolls
black
over.
ice,
I
yeah,
lost my goods. Yeah. And
absolutely,
I think a lot of shippers just assume, and some of this could come from the truckload world, right? Where they're like, hey, when I ship truckload, that provider I use has to have a minimum amount of insurance to even operate on the road. But then you go into an LTL environment, which is a different mode where
yeah,
there's multiple shipping customers freight in a single truck. I think some of them just assume, oh, I'm covered because the carrier has their own coverage. But it doesn't necessarily mean their individual product is covered at the full value. And
absolutely,
and to your point, it gets even more confusing with LTL because of the class scale. So
yeah,
now you not only have limited liability, but as you go through that class scale at 50 to 500, right? As you move through 50, 60, 70, 92 and a half, you just start moving down, that value either increases or decreases. And
yeah,
and there is no uniformity in this space. So now we're talking about having 85 different common LTL carriers that all have different limited liability rules and regulations with what they'll pay out on. And I think another thing that surprises customers is with the liability process, how long those carriers have to even just respond to your claim and acknowledge it, let alone fulfill their obligation to pay it.